You cannot heal what you refuse to see. You cannot integrate what you continue to reject. And you absolutely cannot stop attracting toxic people until you own the parts of yourself that magnetize them. The narcissist who love bombs then discards you. The energy vampire who drains your peace. The manipulator who makes you question your own reality. This is not about victim blaming. This is about understanding the unconscious psychology that creates these patterns and learning how to break them at the root level. If this sounds familiar, the problem might not be your spiritual practice. The problem might be that you are avoiding the most important work of all, shadow work. Carl Jung understood something that most spiritual teachers today ignore. The shadow, in Jungian psychology, contains everything you have disowned about yourself. Every trait you were told was unacceptable. Every emotion you learned to suppress. Every part of your authentic self that did not fit the image of who you thought you needed to be. Here is what happens during spiritual awakening. You become more sensitive to energy, more aware of patterns, more conscious of the connections between your inner world and outer reality. But if you are only working with the light aspects of consciousness while avoiding your shadow, you create a dangerous spiritual blind spot. You start believing that because you practice love and light, you should only attract love and light. When toxic people show up, you feel confused, violated, even spiritually failed. You wonder why the universe keeps testing you, why your manifestations keep backfiring, why people take advantage of your kindness. The answer lies in understanding what Jung called projection. Whatever you refuse to acknowledge in yourself, you will unconsciously project onto others. And whatever you project, you will attract into your experience for healing. Someone grows up in a household where anger was dangerous. Perhaps they had a volatile parent whose rage felt threatening. As a survival mechanism, they learned to suppress their own anger completely. They became the peacekeeper, the people pleaser, the one who never rocks the boat. In their adult relationships, they pride themselves on being calm and spiritual, never getting angry, but their suppressed anger does not disappear. It goes into their unconscious shadow, and from there, it calls in people who will express that rage for them. They attract partners who explode while they remain composed, friends who create drama while they play mediator, co-workers who are aggressive while they stay passive. They think they are the victim of these toxic people, not realizing they are unconsciously calling them in to express their own disowned anger. The universe is not punishing them. It is trying to show them what they have rejected in themselves. This is why spiritual bypassing is so dangerous. When you use spiritual concepts to avoid psychological healing, you create a split between your conscious spiritual identity and your unconscious shadow. The bigger the split, the more extreme the people and situations that show up to bridge it. Inner work during spiritual awakening means getting honest about what you have been avoiding. What traits in others trigger you most intensely? What behaviors make you judge or criticize? What aspects of humanity do you find most repulsive? These strong reactions are breadcrumbs. They lead you back to your unconscious mind. The traits that trigger you most are often the very traits you have banished from your own self-concept. If narcissism triggers you, look for the ways you might be self-absorbed that you cannot admit. If manipulation makes you furious, examine how you might control others in subtle ways. If victimhood annoys you, Notice where you might be avoiding responsibility for your own life. This does not mean you are as extreme as the toxic people you attract. It means you carry the seeds of these traits, and your refusal to own them creates an unconscious magnetism. Hold this discovery gently. This is not about beating yourself up or judging your humanity. It is about understanding with kindness how your psyche has been trying to protect you. Here is a deeper truth about spiritual awakening. The goal is not to become a perfect being of light. The goal is to become a whole human being, someone who can hold all aspects of the human experience with consciousness and compassion. When you do this inner work, you stop being a magnet for people who will act out your disowned parts. Why? Because you have integrated those parts consciously. You can express healthy anger when needed instead of attracting rage. You can set boundaries from strength instead of magnetizing controllers. You can own your needs directly instead of drawing in people who demand everything. The process of integration during awakening often looks like this. First, you notice the pattern. The same type of toxic person keeps showing up in different forms. Instead of focusing on changing them or avoiding them, you turn inward. What is this pattern trying to teach me about myself? Then you begin the uncomfortable work of owning your projections. You stop seeing yourself as purely light. You start acknowledging your human complexity. Yes, you have capacity for selfishness. Yes, you can be manipulative when scared. Yes, you sometimes play victim to avoid taking responsibility. This is not about self-attack. This is about self-honesty. When you can own these aspects of yourself with compassion, they lose their unconscious power over you. Remember, this process requires tremendous gentleness with yourself. You are not broken or bad for having these human traits. You are simply becoming more honest about your full humanity. The unconscious mind contains not only negative traits, but also positive qualities you have rejected. Perhaps you learned that being powerful was dangerous, so you attract people who abuse power. Perhaps you decided that being wealthy was selfish, so you magnetize people who use money to control you. Perhaps you believed being beautiful was vain, so you draw in people who manipulate through their appearance. Inner work means reclaiming all the parts of yourself you gave away. Your power, your anger, your sexuality, your ambition, your vulnerability. When you own these energies consciously, you stop attracting people who will express them unconsciously. A practical approach to this process for toxic relationship patterns works like this. When someone triggers you intensely, instead of focusing on their behavior, ask yourself these questions. What quality in this person am I judging? How might I possess this quality in a different form? What would it look like to own this aspect of myself consciously? If someone is being selfish, perhaps you need to learn healthy selfishness instead of endless self-sacrifice. Remember, owning your needs doesn't mean becoming narcissistic. It means valuing yourself enough to communicate your boundaries clearly. If someone is manipulative, perhaps you need to own your own power to influence. Instead of pretending, you never try to control outcomes. Owning your power doesn't mean becoming a tyrant. It means setting boundaries respectfully and standing in your truth. If someone is emotionally dramatic, perhaps you need to access your own emotional expressiveness instead of over-controlling your feelings. This doesn't mean becoming chaotic. It means allowing yourself to feel and express emotions in healthy ways. The key is differentiation. You want to integrate the healthy expression of these energies, not become toxic yourself. This deep work teaches you to hold the full spectrum of human experience with wisdom and appropriate boundaries. Another crucial aspect involves healing your relationship with rejection and abandonment. Many people who attract toxic relationships have deep fears of being alone. They would rather be in a toxic connection than no connection at all. This fear makes them tolerant of treatment they would never accept if they felt truly secure in their own company. They ignore red flags. They make excuses for bad behavior. They give endless chances to people who show them exactly who they are. Psychological healing means facing your terror of abandonment directly, feeling into the places where you learned that you had to earn love through compliance, perfection, or self-sacrifice. Healing the childhood wounds that make you believe you are not worthy of healthy love, just as you are. Approach this healing with infinite patience and compassion for yourself. These wounds were created when you were vulnerable and doing your best to survive. Honor that younger part of you as you gently work to transform these patterns. When you have done this deep work, your tolerance for toxicity naturally decreases. You would rather be alone than be with someone who diminishes your light. This shift in your energetic boundaries automatically changes the type of people you attract. Remember that this inner exploration is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice throughout your spiritual journey. As you evolve, new layers of your unconscious will become visible. What triggers you at one stage of awakening will be different from what challenges you later. The goal is not to eliminate your unconscious aspects. The goal is to develop a conscious relationship with them, to recognize when you are projecting, to own your complexity without judgment, to express all parts of yourself in healthy, boundaried ways. This work requires tremendous courage. It asks you to give up the comfortable identity of being purely good, spiritual, or evolved. It asks you to embrace your humanity fully, including the messy, complicated, sometimes selfish parts. Remember, embracing your humanity is not about becoming worse. It is about becoming whole. When you can love all parts of yourself, you become capable of genuine love for others. But this courage is rewarded with authentic freedom. When you are no longer hiding from parts of yourself, you stop attracting people who will force you to confront them. When you can hold your hidden aspects with compassion, you naturally attract others who have done their own inner work. The most profound relationships happen between people who have integrated their unconscious patterns. They can love each other fully because they are not trying to be perfect. They can have honest conflicts because they are not afraid of their own anger. They can set boundaries because they value themselves completely. Psychological integration during spiritual awakening is ultimately about coming home to yourself. All of yourself, the parts you are proud of and the parts you want to hide. When you can embrace your totality with love, you become a magnet for people who can do the same. The toxic people in your life are not your enemies. They are your teachers, showing you the disowned parts of yourself that are ready to be healed and integrated. When you do this work, you do not just transform your relationships, you transform your entire reality. What unconscious aspect is ready to be integrated in your life right now? What pattern keeps showing up that you are ready to heal at the root level? The answers to these questions hold the keys to your liberation. If this exploration has opened something important for you, please share your insights in the comments. Your healing journey might inspire someone else to begin their own transformation. Remember, the goal of awakening is not perfection, it is wholeness. And wholeness can only happen when you stop running from your unconscious mind and start dancing with it instead.